Hello, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jože Škofljanec and I'm coming from Slovenian National Archives. I will lead this panel discussion or moderate. I hope this works. Yes, we have four wonderful panelists which are coming from the National Archives of Denmark, Italy, Czech Republic and France. So different parts of Europe. And we will have two rounds, then maybe a third one if there will be time, where you can also share your thoughts with them or with us. So I will start. Does it work? Yes. With the first opening round, where I'm expecting that our panelists will share their experiences about how they implement solutions developed by the E-ARK in their national environment. And since Jan is with us from the beginning, I will start with him. So Jan, we are together with Kulder As began discussions about the need for common pan-European solutions for preserving digital records about 12 years ago, and the National Archives of Denmark, DNA, has made significant contribution to the development of this pan-European solution under the E-ARK umbrella in the years that followed. In the first project, DNA, among other things, led the task related to the ensuring accessibility, which was a new challenge at the time for the most of the archives. And DNA contribution to the development of specification for relational databases has been invaluable. And during the E-ARK building block, DNA led the E-ARK consortium, and the list goes on. Jan, now we go to the questions. As one of the initiators, what is your personal view of the work done? And since you're also the member of the DNA management, could you please present how the Danish National Archives assess the ratio of resources and efforts invested to the outcome?
All right, thank you, Jože. Can you hear me? Yeah, all right, good. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I think that we have come really a long way in terms of getting a common language around digital preservation and also a common understanding of the challenges and the possible solutions. And I think that has been absolutely wonderful for our community that we have like a common language. Many of us have known the OAIS standard for a long time, and I see the E-ARK as an extension of that, giving us a common language and a common understanding has been really, really great. Back in 2012, in the beginning of the year, we had a database preservation hackathon in Copenhagen at the National Archives. It was under the auspices of the Open Preservation Foundation, which is also now a part of the E-ARK family. And I remember one of the things that stood out really clearly to the people there when we looked at CEART, we looked at CEART-DK, the Danish implementation of CEART, we looked at the Portuguese DBML and possibly also some other database preservation formats, and we thought this should really be possible to find common ground in database preservation. I think, Janet, you were there as well in Copenhagen. So, and that was really an eye-opener, I think, to see that it would actually be possible to find each other and find a common way to do this. So this is at least one of the main results for us at the National Archives in Denmark, that we could take the really good work that had been done by the Swiss National Archives in the CEART format and then adapt it using the insights and experiences from other types of database preservation, and then find this common CEART format, which is now basically the way to archive databases across Europe and even beyond. So for us at the National Archives, I think that would be one of the absolute main things for the 10 years. It also means that we're actually right now in the process of implementing database preservation toolkit that has been developed in E-ARK as our main access system for born digital records. So we can take our very old, very end-of-life access system and send it off to retirement because of the results of the E-ARK project. So knowing how difficult and expensive it is to make system development, it's really interesting that we now actually have some tools that we can work on and use in our production system. So that's definitely a result from the E-ARK project that has benefited us at the National Archives. Also, again, coming back to the language thing, I really think it's a big strength that the E-ARK specifications build on the OAIS terminology. So we talk about SIP, submission information packages, AIPs, archive information packages, and DIPs, dissemination information packages, because it all fits very well together with sort of like the common experiences of the digital preservation community. So what we have now are some really good conceptual building blocks for digital archives. Of the other products, we haven't really used the reference architecture that much yet, but we are looking at it in terms of seeing how it can help us in building a new full platform for access to our entire digital collection. And so far, I think it looks promising, but I have to admit that we haven't dug too deep into that. There are definitely a lot of really good things to say about the E-ARK project and the results that we have had. So there's no question that I think that the E-ARK has passed the exam. There's no F's here. But I'm not sure that E-ARK will get a straight A either, because we're not completely where I had hoped we would be. And it might as well also be an issue for the National Archives ourselves. But for instance, we have not yet implemented the common specification for information packages in our own production. And I think one of the issues here is that when we talk about it, some of the colleagues who have not been part of the E-ARK, they're all like, well, why should we be first movers, and show me the community of other National Archives who have implemented these specifications, then we can follow suit. And that, I think, fits nicely with the discussion we had just a few minutes ago, that for us as National Archives, who have to look really closely into what we spend our money and resources on, it's important to know that we're not alone. It's important to know that there is a community that we can learn from. It's important for us to know that there are solutions out there that we can use. So I think that's at least a challenge for us. The question that you had about the ratio between the resources put into E-ARK and the results, I guess that depends on who you ask. I'm perfectly happy with the ratio. Some of my colleagues might still be on the fence whether we spend too much time on it, since we have not yet implemented all of it. But after today, I'm really hopeful that we can move on because of this community that we have, and that's visible today. But I think Anders Bo said this morning that we're a big ship, we're a super tanker, and it takes time to move a ship around of our size. We have been doing digital preservation since 1975. So there's a lot of tradition that we have to sort of turn around. So those are the things that we are working on, I guess, at the moment. So we're not done yet.
Okay, thank you. On my right-hand side is Silvia You're an expert in digital archiving, and you're working in Archivio Centrale dello Stato Italiano. We know each other from your participation in the development of reference architecture during the archiving building block, where you were included in the team as an external expert, while the Italian State Archives is not a member of E-ARK consortium. I would ask you to present to us which of the products and services developed by the E-ARK and in what way have you used for which needs? And perhaps even before, when did you meet E-ARK, since you're not part of consortium DLM Forum as well, and what prompted your decision to base your renewed approach to the protection of digital records on E-ARK or e-archiving solutions? Okay. And I think that you prepared some slides. So
yes.
Feel free to share it with us.
Okay. Allora, I'll answer starting from your last part of your question, Jose, namely when we met E-ARK project and why we decided to use its tools. In 2018, the Central State Archives of Italy, my institute, has received a specific mandate to create the digital archives of the Italian state, the platform for preserving, using and reusing the historical digital archives, especially those produced by the Italian Central State administrations. But at the time, the existing Italian digital preservation scenario, it wasn't sufficient to satisfy the permanent archival digital preservation systems. So after participating at the e-archiving workshop here in Brussels, I think in this room in 2019, we understood that E-ARK could be a support for our project. This idea has remained even when the original project, the Digital Archives of Italian State, has involved in a new, more complex project, the Italian Digital Preservation Repository in 2021, which is a submission of the Italian Recovery and Resilience Plan, and which has aim to the creation, the two new digital preservation, the intermediate digital preservation repository of the Italian Ministry of Culture, and the second system is the permanent system, the Italian State Archives Digital Preservation Repository. So it's a digital monster, because we have as the new function, the intermediate preservation, not only the permanent preservation. And about our use, the E-ARK tools, we decided in the past that the platform, the software platform, it's not sufficient for our requirements. But it was very important the use of the technical, E-ARK technical specifications, in particular the information, the specification about information packages, and also we are using a part of the content information type specification. Now the digital object that is produced by an electronic record management systems. Also, I said already that we had a little experimentation about the CIARD, and we are creating also some our customizations about the metadata profile, about the we are creating our model of the information packages. This is an example. Okay, for example, we we decided to implement our archive information packages not only for the archival digital resources, but for example, also for the context. Our idea is the following. It's possible that in the digital context, the idea or the concept of the authority file could be changed. So we are creating the specific typology for describing the context. This is an example of the archive information package about the agent that are involved in the digital preservation processes. So this is our idea. Okay, but as you already said, José, we participated at the first implementation about the first edition version, the e-archiving reference architecture. It was a very important experience. In fact, we decided to adopt the Archimate language for describing our system to system. This is an example of the overview of our two systems, and also for describing the relationship between the functional entities, the services, and the software and the architectural components.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next panelist is Zbyšek. Zbyšek is coming from he's coming from the Czech National Archives, which is also not a member of E-ARK Consortium, but you are active members of DLM Forum, and you probably got acquainted with the specifications and other solutions and services developed in E-ARK projects at the forum meetings. Can you please present to us what your path to using E-ARK products and services was like, and perhaps what types of data you have achieved, archived with the help of the E-ARK deliverables?
Thanks, Jože. Well, as you're right, we are not members of E-ARK. When E-ARK started in 2014, it was, for me, 2014 and 2015 were the lives in my life that I will never experience again. Because with as a small agile team, with a group of our in-house programmers, we had a year to start a nationwide solution of the digital archive. When you remember that time, 2010, 12, there were products or the information systems, long-term preservation system on the market, which didn't use any standards that time. They were developed just for one purpose, and they didn't use maths premise. What now we are feeling it's a common. That time, no, you needed a project for millions of euros, and you got a product which wasn't compatible and interoperable. So we were. Since the very beginning, we were very keen on modularity. We knew we will be growing up because now 80 archives are using our infrastructure. In the Czech Republic, we have 700 agencies, hundreds of archivists involved, working with the interface. But that time we were starting, implementing one of the open source solutions of the market. There wasn't few, there was Rhoda 1. And we were definitely the first national archive which implemented Archivematica as a long-term preservation solution. That time it was used heavily in North America, university sector institutions, but in Europe, so just few public institutions. And I remember that no national archives used that time. And we were the first, and it was 2014, and that was time when we had, since 2012, we have in our legislation SAPE package, like export package from the records management systems based on maths and our descriptive and administrative metadata. And then we have IPE package, and then started E-ARK. And we had some infrastructure, so as Anders Bo Nielsen or Jan Dalsten Sørensen said before, it's like a cruiser or ocean ship. You turn the rudder and nothing happens. So it takes time, and now we are running after 12 years of running that infrastructure and improving that infrastructure. We are running now preparing a public tender to replace the core of the archives. We keep the things we created after that, the interface, the National Archives portal, but this is the way how we can also change the direction towards E-ARK architecture. So it really takes time because as Jan said, it's costly, obviously, and we are a public institution and have to be cautious about that. But when we started to use it, we just don't plan to use it, but 2016, I assume 2017, as we had something and we grew up, so we started to solve database preservation, and we looked where can we inspire, where can we learn something. So the Danes had CRDK, the Swiss had CR standard, they had CR2, they had CR standard. I want to mention a name which wasn't mentioned today yet. It's Kristina Onesorge, and I think with a lot of passion and energy, she put a lot of steam to turn things ahead. And as CR2 in the E-ARK project was created, it was the interoperable format, because before that it wasn't. And there were tools created, and we used some of them. Database preservation toolkit was mentioned today. We also tried, for example, database visualization toolkit. That time it was maybe under development, and we choose another solution, a Slovenian solution program by Boris Domajko from the National Archives of Republic of Slovenia, DB DeepView, which presents views of the database, and it was a very successful story for us, preserving databases, preserving Twitter as as a viewer for preserved Twitter exports. So I think that we are still following E-ARK specification more and more. My colleague Martin is involved, I think, in DILSIS, some interest group on database archiving, trying to also make some contribution to that. And we are now keen on, for example, persuade the Ministry of Health about SIP packages eHealth 1 and eHealth 2 to use this because of the benefits of interoperability and others. So the benefits of sharing this knowledge is extremely useful. I think it's one of the main goals of the community to come with this shared knowledge, and we can profit. All of us can profit of that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And Violette, you are coming from the Service Interministériel des Archives de France, where you are head of the Digital Expertise and Sustainable Preservation Office. France have a really large and complex network of the public archives, maybe most complex in Europe, and has developed its own national platform, Vitam, which supports the public service in carrying out its tasks in archiving the digital archive. On the other hand, cooperation between e-archiving and French archives have been going on several years, and a memorandum of cooperation or understanding was also signed a few months ago. Can you present to us your motivation for cooperation, the scope of it, and where you personally see the greatest potential and benefits of this cooperation?
Thank you. I'd like to start by warmly thanking the organizer of this event, and in particular Janet and Carlota and you, José, for inviting me to take part, because, as José said, the situation of France is a bit different as the one of the other panelists of this roundtable. I represent the French Ministry of Culture and not the National Archives of France. It's the first complexity, because the Interministerial Service of the Archives of France is a service of the Ministry of Culture, who lead the archival policy over a network of 3 national archive services and almost 800 public services. So to begin, perhaps, I think it would be useful to say a few words about digital archiving in France and about VITAM before talking about my motivation to cooperate. Whereas digital archiving in France has started at the National Archives since a very long time, since the beginning of the 1980s, archival services began to collect digital archiving with with the onset on dematerialization on the years 2000, and it was mainly at the beginning statistical survey files, and then other types of documents like files, mailboxes, application exports, digital photographs or audiovisual material, not really databases. But the panorama of digital archiving wasn't very mature before the years 2010s. And for us, the development of the VITAM program, interministerial, was an extremely important milestone, because it was the first time that the 3 ministries in charge of the archives in France, the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs, had agreed to work together and join forces to build an interministerial electronic archiving system. So it was our first and our biggest challenge which was launched in 2015 with 3 objectives: an open source, to develop an open source software, to ensure that this software will be used by the 3 ministries first in their own platform. So it was the case for the National Archives of France and the others, and to allow the widest possible reuse of this software through partnerships with other public entities. It was very aligned with the public services and the public entities. This project has been a project between 2016 and 2019, and now it is in a phase of maintenance and improvement. That's why I think you have understood we've been very busy working on that, and we were not involved in the E-ARK project from the outset. Of course, there were contacts, there were exchanges between experts, but as the E-ARK projects were starting up at the same time, the exchanges didn't go any further. But as I told you at the E-Archiving Summit in October, yes, it was in October, standardization of digital archiving at European level was a real opportunity to come back to the E-ARK consortium and to start a new kind of relationship. Because the Ministry of Culture, for the National Archives of France and for the VITAM program, participate in the drafting of standards, mainly to the CEN TC 468, created in 2020 and led by France about preservation of digital information. As you said, Jose, we signed this memorandum of understanding last year, not a few months ago, last year, between the consortium and the Ministry of Culture, including the National Archives of France and the VITAM program. The objective was really the exchange of informations and of experiences, sharing skills, knowledge, exchange research methods and technical development, perhaps, and the promotion of the joint work in the field of digital archiving of the two parties. The term of this MOU is 5 years, maybe extended, and it's true that we have not go so fast as we hoped, because discussions have begun on the model, on a technical level, by comparing the structure of the SIPs of VITAM and the SIPs of the E-ARK specifications about SIPs, sorry. Initial discussions have started at the end of the year in 2023, thanks to the Hungarian company Polyphon. VITAM sent resources to Polyphon and resources which were translated into English, because it is very important for us and for Polyphon. And I know that Polyphon has begun to analyze the structuring of information of VITAM, has begun to work on a converter, but for different circumstances, the task is not progressing in the calendar as expected. But I think it's overall a question of time. And I think perhaps at the next meeting, at the next event of the archiving initiative, my colleague from the VITAM team can present with Polyphon more concrete results about that. For me, it's really a good opportunity, and I regretted that France couldn't be part of the initiative since the beginning, but it's the reality. We have developed our solutions in parallel, and now I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, too. So with this, we are moving to the second round, and there will be the same question for all our panelists, and it will be a bit about the future development or possible developments or needs in archival domain. Because all of you come from the central and national institutions that co-shape or even lead the progress of the archival science and practice in your country, I'm interested in how useful and applicable you are thinking that the services and solutions that have been prepared so far with the E-ARK projects are not only for the national, but also for other public and private archives, and in which direction the development of new solutions and services should go in order to be even more accessible and usable for the widest range of archival service providers. With that, I think also on the several times mentioned today, EI does two trusted service providers as well. Okay, shall we start with you, Silvia?
Okay.
And you can use this.
Ah, sorry.
It's okay. No, back, I think.
Yes. No. Sorry.
Can I help you?
Yes. Thanks.
Oh, it is here. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Allora, about the wider use of the E-ARK archiving products, we believe that the E-ARK tools could be valuable for other public and private archives. For example, our system, one of our system, the intermediate system, it's not national archives, not for permanent preservation, it's for intermediate preservation. It's the in-house system for the central peripheral bodies of Ministry of Culture. So, in this case, we are using for creation this second system, the E-ARK model. So, this is the example that the E-ARK, the ARK model, tools, services, specification can be used not only for the national archives. And in general, because, first of all, because the E-ARK model, tools, services, specification, and so on, are focused on the long-term digital preservation processes, not on the juridical profile of the agents that are involved in the to preserve the digital archives. Second, because in our case, for example, it's possible to use the E-ARK products in a selective way by taking into account the specific need of users without compromising the quality and the value of the E-ARK model. The second question, okay, for the future. I would like to say a lot of things, but I choose the principal point. Certainly, it could be important, based on our current needs, to organize the periodical meetings, the workshop, focus on some specific critical issues to find the solutions of them. For example, about the metadata. What is the metadata for profiling the agent? Not only the physical and the juridical agent, but for example, the system, the software agent on the hardware, because there aren't now the profile like, for example, METS. The E-ARK, proposed a personalization about the METS, as a manifest of the information package, and suggest an approach, description approach about the premise, about the EAD, EAC, the description standard, but it's too general, so can be important to decide which are the more important metadata for profiling the agent, or also for tracing the event. there are the OAS functional entities. You know, it's important the E-ARK reference architecture that is refined the general OAS model, okay? But which are the principal event processes that have to trace? It's important because the danger is to have a lot of logs and metadata. So also a policy for retention of logs and metadata. Also, the other important thing, in our opinion, is to discuss about the process for disposal and destruction digital archives. E-ARK doesn't do some suggestion about this important, relevant event. Also, the event has the migration. It's very important, a traumatic event in the life cycle of the digital object. Another thing that I suggest naturally, it's which is the how it's possible to manage the archive information package during the migration event, which is the meanings of the edition and version of archive information package. And finally, I suggest, for example, to describe better the service has access services, because in our idea it's very important to reflect how change in the digital dimension, the access services, also the reference services, and also another entity, functional entity that for us it's better to analyze. It's the preservation and accessibility services. For example, we are design in functional and anche software way some component like the monitoring the design community, monitoring the migration process, and monitoring the format. So we would like to share this choice, this, okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. I think that we get... Sorry. Yes, thank you so much. And I think we get plenty of ideas, but we would like more. So, Violette, can you share your thoughts with us?
It's not an easy question for me because you understood that the French institution of archives are not yet involved in the E-ARK project, the development of their specification of their use, and for private services, the Ministry of Culture doesn't deal with private archive services. So what I can say is first that the VITAM program has now, I think, almost 80 users, and including many ministries, but also private companies. So it is possible for them to use the SIPs, AIPs, DIP specification of VITAM. So if the conversion works, why not using the E-ARK specification for these private companies? They are not very, very numerous, but almost a dozen, I think. So it's not. It's already good. And from my point of view, one thing which could be very interesting for us is to make perhaps more communication in French about the E-ARK services and about the e-archiving initiative, for example, to propose presentation in French of the archiving reference architecture. It could be very useful for our French colleagues to understand the importance of your functional requirements and so on. On the other side, in France, over the next few months, we have planned to do more, to raise the international profile of the VITAM program, and there will be a task force led by the deputy director of the VITAM program, which will, for example, translate the pages of the VITAM website in English and translate some documents about the vision of the program, to imagine how to open more this software solution to users who use other standards. I didn't say it, but in France, our main standards used for digital archiving are the OAIS Model 2, but not only, a French standard called the CEDA, the Data Exchange Standard for Archiving, which was the subject of a French standard, but of an international standard too, ISO 20614. So, as the VITAM software solution meets these standards and norms applicable for archiving, it is possible to find a way to discuss and to have this common language that you have already, all of you, perhaps.
Okay, thank you. I would like to stress that we just have a few weeks ago first webinar in French, so I hope that this is first in the long line of the events or things that we can offer in French. Yes, please.
I must say that all webinars have subtitles in all European languages, including Ukrainian, by the way. Point taken, I will push for translations to other languages, that is for sure.
Okay. Now I would give the floor to Zbyšek, I think, when
Well, not so many. Some of them are. I'm coming from the field of digital preservation, actually. But in our group we must be interdisciplinary. And I feel that we are dealing, or I see it as an inspiration. Because we are dealing with the same problems in the field of digital preservation and how to handle it here at the European level. We could also benefit, all of them. I agree with John Sheridan that access is a key point for the future, and I'm just thinking about, for example, reuse of big data. We are creating data spaces. My government is investing now time, energy, and money to create linked data in the public sector, in public sectors. Well, and they assume, well, that the agencies maybe will be keeping their data also forever as archives to let the researchers get access to the data. And we are saying, well, this is not wise, because when data get obsolete in time, in 20, 30 years, it will be the first thing that what the agencies will delete, old data. So to find a way how to link the data also with the data which are archived. I see that, for example, if you have a terrestrial imaging, it's half petabyte of data just for one imaging of the country. Well, and we should make AIP and replicate it 4 times, and then we use DIP for imaging server. Well, yes, but now I feel that, for example, in this case, see some feedback also from the libraries, for example. We say, yeah, OA's model good, but well, we are it's relevant to OA's, but they are looking for Oxford Common File layout, which is maybe more suitable for this preservation of big data, sharing data, using JSON LD and others. It's something what maybe in time will prove as some solution. Or Latin said, tempora mutantur et nos mutamur in illis, time are changing and we are changing with them. So this is one thing that definitely maybe is something we can look at it. We live in fluid time, but I see that, for example, the paper by Leontine Talboom and David Adderdown about future access and designated communities became classic, and it was published 2019. Well, the future user might not be a human researcher, some professor in the research room. It will be some machine, and the British National Archives has experience with that, presenting, allowing access through API. I think that's something what we can learn from. I think also that, and it was a lot of confusion yesterday during the one of the session, as we are speaking that more and more archives, national archives, are implementing capstone. A strategy originally coming from United States about preserving electronic communication, not just email, electronic communication from the representatives of democratic power, aka politicians and high officials, to archive the decision-making process to enhance transparency of the democratic institutions, and also to enhance resilience, because no one can question how you made to this, or how you came to this decision. For example, Netherlands, the French archivist Marion Ville, sorry for my lame French, was awarded a Best Presentation Award on last year IPRES in University of Illinois, and it was not just an expression of a gratitude for the French help in the American fight for independence. It was a very great presentation. I wasn't aware that elements of capstones are part of VITAM since 2013. So I'm researching this field a little bit, and I was ashamed how it was possible that I never mentioned it. But sometimes the archives, for example, American, the NARA in Washington, are keeping a low profile about this activity. They are publishing the guidelines, but they don't speak much about experience. So I think that's one of the reasons is, well, they don't want to be a public theme that they are preserving this this on the system level. So I think this could be also one of the topic, and maybe also about access, and it's related to architecture, reference architecture. I think also emulation of dynamic objects and others. Complex digital objects is one of the key points of future, because some of the complex and dynamic digital objects will not be rendered with current software. And I see a lot of effort behind EASY project led by consortium of Yale University. Now EASY Australia has started. So I think this could be one of the goals, or maybe the targets we can, or the E-ARK could look at it. Thanks.
Thank you, Zbyšek. And I think that we have a minute or two also for Jan to maybe share final thoughts with us.
All right, I'll see if I can be brief. As I said before, we have benefited enormously from the cooperation in terms of database preservation, and we are an archive with preservation specialists on staff. And out there, when we talk about a wider audience, there are many archives who have no preservation specialists, and there are many organizations that have archive needs but don't have preservation specialists. So I think a shorter answer to this question would be to focus again on how do we make the uptake of E-ARK as easy as possible for even smaller organizations, to create the toolbox that makes it possible for organizations with few or no specialist resources to actually use and benefit from the results. Because I think we're almost there. There's still a gap between the really good results of the E-ARK project and the ease with which you can implement it. But I think that would be a very important area of focus in the coming years. And then also, I think to focus more on the community building. I really like what you said, Silvia, about the idea of periodical meetings where we can discuss digital archiving and digital preservation, because E-ARK is giving us a common ground to stand on and a common language. So that's certainly a thing. The community and the visibility of the community is another really important point, I think. And I also really like, Violette, what you said about the language. It's really annoying that we always have to use the language of the countries that gave us Brexit and Donald Trump. So there are so many languages in Europe, and especially French, German, and maybe even Scandinavian. That's definitely an important point. So thank you for that. And finally, I think we should also, in the future, talk more about formats. I'm really happy that we have talk about 3D preservation, and I think that's also a way to go to talk more about formats. Was that short enough?
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to ask, I hope that you will have enough opportunity to share ideas and your thoughts with us in the next session. And I would like to conclude this with a thank to our panelists in the most traditional way. Thank you.